Adam, bro, season's over with, and we're obviously going to have to talk about Tennessee football, man, and really kind of dive in a little bit and discuss our feelings on that. We are going to do that, but first, there is something that we have to discuss outside of Tennessee football for a minute. College football playoffs has put out there, the rules for how the format's going to look next year. They're going to stay with that same 12-team playoff. So they're going to keep that the same, which is fine. I mean, I'm cool with that. I know some people want that 16 teams, some people want a little more, some people want less, but they're going to stick to that. They're going to do for the automatic bids, the 4 Power 4 champions are guaranteed a spot. So I feel like that's kind of back to how that first was, when the Power 4 teams, those 4 champions are guaranteed a spot. I don't think that necessarily. I don't see anything on the rules like this year. I don't think that means that just because you win it, you get that first round bye or nothing. I think you got to be top 4 for that. Still, I don't see any change updated on that. And then there's a first round too. I don't know if this is something, but games will be played on campus sites. Still, that kind of stuff, But
that's good, man.
Yeah,
I definitely never want to see that go away.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's a big thing there. If you that's how playoffs should be structured. That's how it is in the NFL, things like that too. So I like that. But a rule that I do not like, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it right out there. I think it's absurd. I think it's absolutely obnoxious, and it's insane that this is even a rule. The Notre Dame rule. If Notre Dame finishes within the top 12 of the rankings, they will receive an automatic bid, which may displace a higher ranked at-large team. So Notre Dame, if they finish top 12, guaranteed in, just like they won a conference. Insane, man. And I'll let you get I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you my little opinion on it real quick, just because obviously I'm feeling a little passionate about it, but absolutely insane, man. Absurd. I mean, join a conference. There's another way you get in there, and that's you are one of the Power 4 conferences and you win your conference, that gets you an automatic bid. So if you want an automatic bid, maybe you should join it. And I'm not even going to discuss, last year could Notre Dame been a better candidate than JMU, Tulane? Sure. We're not talking about that. We are talking about this rule that is absolutely insane. And I'll paint you a picture to where this is crazy, man, and where this will just show. I mean, it's already obnoxious. I feel like we don't have to paint any kind of picture to explain why we think it's crazy, but this just gives you an idea of it. Let's just do a scenario. Texas A&M, say that Texas A&M beats Notre Dame. That's happened before. Say that happens, and but Texas A&M doesn't have the season they did last year as far as throughout the season. Say they drop a couple games. Notre Dame, playing the 2 teams they play during the year that's actually really difficult, say that they drop a couple games. At the end of the year, Notre Dame's sitting at the 12th spot, which you would think would be the first out position, for the playoffs. Say Texas A&M beat Notre Dame head-to-head. They dropped a couple games, didn't make their conference championship, but they're sitting at 11. Say, however the season plays out, Texas A&M sitting at 11, Notre Dame sitting at 12. Now, one of the Power 4 champions happens to be a team that's not in the top 12. Say the 15th ranked team in that conference won the conference championship, they're automatically in. Somebody's got to get booted. Well, it ain't going to be Notre Dame, according to this rule, meaning that say Texas A&M's the next out. And I know the committee gets to pick, kind of how they can adjust things, but let's just say Texas A&M gets booted out for being the next out team against a team that they beat during the season who has the same record as them. But because Notre Dame has a rule that states that they get to stay in if they're in the top 12 no matter what happens, Notre Dame will be playing in the playoffs. How does this get passed, man? What's your thoughts? I mean, sorry I rambled, but how does this even get passed?
Well, no, I needed you to introduce that and talk about that and bring that up first, because to the viewers out there, Michael was a little bit more hip to this than I was. He literally broke this news to me right before we started recording, so I had no clue that this was even a thing. I'm reading it right here, for the first time. you're seeing my true reaction to it. Notre Dame, they're actually on Google, they're literally calling it the Notre Dame Rule. So in the rules of all the stipulations for the college football playoff, there is an excerpt and a section in the rule book called the Notre Dame Rule. That alone is absurd to me. I mean, and I'm not talking about this from a Tennessee fan standpoint or an SEC bias standpoint or anything like that. Just from a common sense standpoint, how can you write up a rule that automatically puts a specific team in, regardless of who that team is? I don't care who it is. Like Michael said, join a conference. Everyone else has to go through the grueling schedule of a conference and play that extra conference game and hopefully win their championship in some cases just to make the playoffs. Um, this is beyond my comprehension, dude. I cannot believe that this is reality. I don't know who made this decision. I don't know where this came from. Like you said, somebody at Notre Dame must have had some really, really, really deep pockets and strong connections and ties to the committee of the playoffs, because this to me it's not right. This should never exist. Nothing like this should ever be. And I'm not a Notre Dame hater, man.
Yeah,
I
same,
don't
same,
agree.
man.
I don't agree with them not joining a conference, but I guess it benefits them more than joining one, obviously. If that's the case, then more teams should become independent. If you're going to get special treatment and special rights, and basically an open invitation to the playoffs year in and year out. Because if you go back and look at top 25 APs and in years past, Notre Dame has been right up there. I mean, and if they continue this trajectory and continue to find success in this portal era with their new coach and their climb that they've had over the past few seasons, I mean, according to this rule, dude, they're just going to have an automatic bid. As long as they perform and with their types of schedules that they have year in and year out, they're probably going to perform. This is
Yep.
unreal, man. Unreal.
Crazy, man. And going back, you said we're not Notre Dame haters, and so
No,
before
at all.
and this also isn't a back to last year type thing. Before we get Notre Dame fans coming at us and saying that well, we deserve to be in there last year. We're not talking about that. I'm not. Notre Dame, could they have competed in the playoffs last year? Absolutely. They lost to Texas A&M, who barely lost to Miami in the playoffs. Who else they lost to barely, who made it to the championship, gave Indiana an absolute fit. So yeah, I'm not saying they can't compete or that Notre Dame's not good. That's not what we're saying. It's just an absurd rule for a team. Now, I've always said they should be in a conference. I have had an issue with that, but and if you're saying that that's dumb to say that Notre Dame should be in a conference, more than likely you're a Notre Dame fan. Let's be honest. It's let's take all that bias aside, and this is just an absurd rule. And yeah, again, and it's not an SEC bias or anything like that we're trying to do. If Notre Dame joined an ACC and they ran it every year, absolutely you know what I mean? Like I'm not against,
and they
I'm not saying
probably
you have to
could.
be in the SEC. Probably could, absolutely. And man, I don't get this at all. I just wanted to bring light to that before we really dive into what we're doing today. And yeah, again, I don't know how
Yeah.
much they got to play or pay the NCAA for that, but I guess
Yeah,
there's a lot of money in Notre Dame.
that's unreal, man. I can't believe that. You dropped that bombshell on me right before we started recording, and I honestly couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, one thing I'll say about which I'll have to read into all of it a little bit more outside of the Notre Dame rule. I am glad that they kept the 12 team. I didn't really want to see them expand to 16 teams, but I am kind of shocked that they kept it a 12 team actually, but I do wish that they would change up some of the other things. Like, I'm glad the first round is still at college football stadiums and certain teams get home games. Man, I'd like, and I don't know that this will ever happen, but I'd love to see even the second round be home playoff games
Yeah.
as well.
I'm
But
cool with it
it
being
is
about the
what it is.
championship. Get all the way to the championship and have that as a neutral side or something. But
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, that's wild, man. What a way to
just wanted to
start the
bring that
show,
up.
dude.
Yeah. Right off rip, just
Well,
get that out of the way there. Yeah, I just thought we had to discuss that. But
of
we'll move
course.
on from that, and I'm sure there'll be more of that in the future to talk about. Obviously, man, like I said, the season's over. I feel like we got a lot we've had some time to reflect too. We kind of got away from Tennessee football as far as we had the playoffs to worry about. We had things that were
Yeah.
going on. Uh, Once Tennessee's bowl game was over, I feel like we kind of moved on for Tennessee for a little while. So we've obviously had our time to be able to reflect on it and everything. I just think it's important, man, to kind of get into how we felt like the season went. The portal's kind of over with now, so we kind of know what we got out of the portal, how that kind of went as well. We're not really going to dig much into. I don't feel like we should dig much into next year because that we'll have plenty of time to talk about that in the future. Um, but just kind of a reflection, man. I'll just let you start, man. How do you feel? What overall, like, what do you want to bring up just about Tennessee this year and kind of how it went and everything?
Yeah. Well, I think dating back to the beginning of the season, we started this podcast in the preseason before the season even started, and we had an episode where we had a Tennessee schedule prediction, and I think both of us leaned towards like a 9-3 season. I think that the more you watch the Vols play earlier in the season, now Tennessee started off 5-1 on the season. Uh, but you look at some of the teams that they had wins against, and it wasn't really that impressive. But you know, um, starting the season off 5-1, my early prediction of 9-3 really started to look a little more like 10-2 in my head. And I just feel like I started kind of believing in the hype of Joey Aguilar and all that. Not to do a broad overview real quick, but that's just kind of where I was at. But predicting 9-3 and then finish the season 8-4 regular season, and then the loss in the bowl game, making it a total of 8-5. I know Tennessee's been in the dumps, and I know that Tennessee has been through really just a terrible 2 decades, 2.5 decades ish of football, man. And I know there's going to be fans that say, well, 10 years ago, I would have killed to have an 8-5 season or a winning record or whatever the case may be. And I understand where they come from when they say stuff like that. But I feel like, Josh Heupel, I think, last year was his 5th year, I believe. This past season was his 5th year. So I think that the upward trajectory that he has us on, um, 8-5 doesn't cut it anymore. I think at a certain point in time you have to move on from the past and say, well, 10 years ago I would have killed for 8-5. You At a certain point you have to erase the past from your mind and say, well, this is where we are now. But college football is not the same as it was 10 years ago. We're dealing with a completely different beast, a completely different animal. I know fan bases and programs have to look at what Indiana did this season and even last season and say, why can we not do that? What do we have to do to put ourselves in that position? And it really makes the sport almost feel uh, like we're not patient. I feel like as Tennessee fans, you have to be patient, and the patience has been wearing thin, man. I'll be honest with you. But overall, just if I had to sum it up, I know I rambled there for a minute, but if I had to sum it up, I think that this season just disappointment. I don't know that the expectations were that high to begin with, but it did feel like we took a step back as opposed to even a small step forward. I don't even think we took a small step forward anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, dude. No, I feel you, man. It's I think we were, we predicted 9-3 on the season. We went 8-4, so we were obviously pretty close in what our prediction was. I mean, we missed we did win against Florida. That was one of our losses, but that, of course, their season took a whole nother turn. But um, I think we were expecting kind of that. So if you'd have told me we'd have went 8-4, I wouldn't have been so shocked. I think, like you said, they're going 5-1 and then almost beating Georgia. Should have beat Georgia. If you make a field goal, you beat Georgia. It's like looking at some of the disappointments as the season went. Oklahoma, another game we had no business losing at home. The way we did in that first half, and we just missed so many opportunities, and just the penalties this year. We know the defense wasn't the strongest suit with injuries and stuff, but the defense obviously being a letdown. Um, some good things about this year. There was a few. Yeah, But like you said, we have a higher expectation, I think. And I am trying to be patient, try to, I didn't expect to win the championship. I mean, we didn't have high expectations, but when you get the opportunity, you want to do better than, what we could have ended the season with. That's what I really had a problem with. It wasn't so much even just the record. It's just the way we started versus how we ended, and we didn't even beat a team with a winning record. And that's some of the issues I
Yeah.
had. It'd been different if we'd have maybe won a couple more of them games. I mean, win two more games and you go 10-2 and you win your bowl game, or even had we went 9-3 and won a bowl game, it could have been a little bit different talks. Because
Right.
Joey did have some.
Right.
I do want to shout out Joey. I don't want to completely trash Tennessee in this. Joey came in as a transfer, didn't have much time, and man, I mean he's someone you root for, and he really
Yep.
did have some great moments. It ended a little rough, I felt like, with the Vanderbilt game and with the bowl game, but at the same time, I'm sure it's not how he would want to end it in his career at all. But he did give us some great moments, and it is still better than how we used to be. So that is true. But at the same time, like, sorry, no, I feel like I am rambling, but at the same time, we want that step up. We want that getting to the playoffs. We want to continue to improve. You start getting an improvement every year. And I'm not saying that Heupel can't do that yet. I'm not going to be one of those Tennessee fans that's like, oh, it's time to get rid of Heupel. But there are
Yeah.
things that I want
No.
to see out of Heupel that I see in some of these other coaches. We talk about it a lot with Signetti, Kirby Smart. Those moments where you kind of take that smart chance, if that makes sense, like the fourth down plays that make sense. Um, like, yeah, they're a little bit of a risk, but they're smart in the moment. It seems like sometimes Heupel gets way too conservative in those moments. So those kind of things I want to see too. Um, but overall with this season, it does feel disappointing, and it's in the way that ended, in my opinion. Um, just kind of fell off as the season went, and not beating any ranked teams is a big deal. Um, and I'll have something positive to say on the season. We did hit a milestone, so there are some things I'll talk about. But yeah, man, I
That's
I
true.
agree. Yeah, I want to keep rambling on it, but I feel you. It's kind of disappointing. It's kind of how it feels. Not, it's not the same as when we it was a joke. When it was like we finished 4-7 or something, like, what I mean, or four
Yeah.
and eight, and
Yeah.
5-7
Yeah.
and stuff. But it was still had its disappointments for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely still way better off than we used to be. There's no doubt about that.
Hmm.
Um, you owe it to Josh Heupel and really just the resurgence of the entire vibe and feel around the program, around the school in general. I think Danny White has done such an incredible job. You can't even really put into words the what he's done to turn around Tennessee athletics as a whole. All the sports have had a resurgence, and there's just an energy around the entire school in general. Um, but football is such a competitive sport, and college football is just a nationally watched sport. You want your team to succeed at the highest level, and a year ago when you make the playoffs, regardless of why you made the playoffs, we know we had a killer defense. We know we had a really strong run game, and those two things played complementary to one another. But when you make it to that point, it's really hard to swallow not making it again and again and again and again. You want
Hmm.
to see consistency at a certain point. You don't want to continue to see a good season, two or three bad seasons, a good season or two, and then a bad season. We need to find some sort of consistency, and I think it really just starts with who are you bringing in throughout the transfer portal. What type of coaching staff do you have around the players, and how long can you keep them together? Um, looking up and down our roster, or not necessarily our roster, looking up and down the schedule that we had this past season, going into this season, man, Tennessee actually had a very favorable schedule. It was one of the more favorable schedules in the SEC, and the most disappointing stat from this year, and you already mentioned it, is out of Tennessee's 8 wins, we did not beat a team that had a winning record, and that alone, that's just the worst. That's the worst stat of the entire season, man. Forget losing to whoever we lost to. Forget going out losing in a bowl game. The fact that none of our wins were significant wins and we didn't beat any significant teams is really, really, really disheartening, because Tennessee has had those moments over the past few years under Josh Heupel where even though you might have lost to some teams you shouldn't have lost to, it's almost like we still rose up and overcame and beat some teams that some people didn't think we could beat. So we didn't get to have that feeling this year, and that's really disheartening, man. And it's the season in a nutshell, right? We knew the defense was going to take a step back. No one really knew what Aguilar was going to look like in this offense, even though he far exceeded anyone's expectations. I feel like um, you just got to recoup and go back after it next season.
Yeah, kind of getting into some of the, you mentioned some like with coaching changes. I mean, you got a little bit of a positive here that you got to think of is, we took an area that was weak, and even though last year that was a strong suit was the defense, 4 out of 5 years has been weak. With Banks as the defensive coordinator, Tennessee did make the step, chose to fire him and hire Penn State's defensive coordinator, who we've talked about before in the past when they did that, is when he won the national championship with Ohio State and things like that. So he's got some things that track as a good defensive coordinator. Seems to have brought in a lot of Penn State. We've heard the joke about
Yeah,
10 State. Um, I
that's
mean, which
crazy.
is funny. But I mean, and then even some of the transfer portal, dude. A lot of the big news of the transfer portal has been Penn State players that were on defense. Um,
Yeah, that's hilarious.
so there's definitely some positives when you look at that, because we know that obviously coaches make a huge deal when it comes to and how you play the transfer portal and NIL and all that. Um, I think we did lose a lot of players in the portal, um, but I feel like we have gained a lot of those defensive players from Penn State that are following him. And they obviously, I know that they didn't have a great year last year, but they had a better defense than Tennessee did. So that is something to look at there, even with their offensive struggles and different things that happen to them. So I do think that's a move in the right direction, right? You got to find somebody that's going to try to, Tennessee knows their defense is weak. We don't take the fans or just us. We're just a couple guys that just would harp on the defense all year. You know what I mean? But it doesn't take that to
Yeah.
just the Tennessee knows it, and so I think that I am excited. I won't say excited, but I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out, because I do think that was a good move. Um, in this going in this off season, and I think it was the right move. At this point, I'm sure I don't know exactly how much we're paying him, but I know it's going to be good. I
Yeah,
mean,
no doubt.
what's your thoughts on that? With the coaching staff changes, that's a move in the right direction, I would imagine, right? Like you would think.
Yeah, I think so, man. I mean, Josh Heupel probably felt the pressure from the organization. Danny White probably heard the rumblings from the fans, and it's no secret when you watch Tennessee's product that they were putting on the field defensively, it just wasn't living up to that expectation consistently. So you got to give it up for Josh Heupel for actually um, making a change. You know, it says I looked something up over here while you were talking. It says Josh Heupel has extensively overhauled his defensive staff following a disappointing 25 campaign. Hiring Jim Knowles, you've already mentioned that. They also hired Indiana's Derek Owning as the strength coach. I did not know that. Key departures include Tim Banks, of course. Willie Martinez is the secondary coach. That Tennessee secondary was absolutely horrendous the entire
So bad.
time. The entire time that Josh Heupel's been the head coach. We got Anthony Poindexter. He came over from Penn State as well. He's the new secondary coach. He's the co-defensive coordinator as well. You got another person added to the defensive staff, Andrew Jackson, Michael Hunter Jr. from Ohio State. He's a cornerbacks coach. So I mean, when it says that Josh Heupel has extensively overhauled his defensive staff, that is not an understatement, man. He has pretty much cleaned house. I think, and I think it was needed. The only person that he really there's only a couple people that remain on the Tennessee coaching staff, and that's Rodney Gardner, the defensive line coach, and William Inge, the linebackers coach. So, and Tennessee doesn't really struggle in those areas, to be honest with you. I think year in and year out, Tennessee produces good defensive linemen, and it always seems like our linebackers play at a good high level. So, I think everything that was done over this offseason needed to be done. I think it was kind of past due, but I do respect the fact that Tim Banks and the rest of those coaches on the defensive side of the ball were given ample time to try to turn things around. If every season would have looked like last season's defense, you wouldn't even be having this conversation. But that's not the way it works, man. This is a results based business, and if the results aren't there, it's on to the next guy. So, um, but I'm anxious to see how this thing looks. I don't want Tennessee fans to get bent out of shape when it doesn't look beautiful the first few games, or maybe even the first season. I mean, this might be something that takes time to kind of implement and to kind of. I mean, you're changing the entire defensive culture, so to speak, the entire defensive identity of this team, so to speak. So it's
Yep.
definitely going to be. I'm excited to see how it looks on field, man.
Yeah,
Really
man. I
am.
was actually just kind of looking at some of these transfers, getting the transfer portal,
Yep,
talking about
I've got
like
that pulled up as well, man.
Penn State, some incoming transfers, man. Not just from Penn State. I see we got a safety TJ Metcalf from Michigan and Tavis Metcalf, cornerback from Michigan as well. So a couple Big Ten, which I did see as Isaiah Harge from Colorado, as a cornerback that's coming in. But those Penn State players, man, Amari Campbell, linebacker that's coming in, Xavier Gillum, defensive lineman from Penn State coming in. Um, so we got another big one as far as the defensive line goes. Chaz Coleman, he's an edge rusher coming in
And
from
and
from
Chad,
Penn
not
State.
yeah, not to interrupt you,
Uh,
Mike, but Chaz
no, go
Coleman
ahead.
was apparently the number 5 player overall in the portal.
Yeah, he's a
So
he's a five
that's
star.
massive.
So yeah, so that's huge that he's following him. And that's really going to add because that defensive line, we've had a good defensive line. So adding a couple, on the defensive line there, and adding someone like him on there is going to be big there, because that helps out with everything, man. I mean, we get when you get pressure after the quarterback like that, sometimes your secondary can lack a little bit, and still you see good results. Um, so that's
Yeah,
good to
and
see. But
the cool thing about Chaz Coleman and Xavier Gillum coming over from Penn State is Chaz Coleman is a freshman and
mm,
Xavier Gillum is a redshirt freshman. So you should have as long as everything goes accordingly. We know how the world of college football is now and how the transfer portal works. You should have a good 2, maybe even 3 years with these guys if you can keep a cohesive unit together. That's really good in my opinion.
yeah, man. That's some positive things I wanted to put on the transfer portal. Something that worries me though, um, and this sucks because honestly, when you look at the offensive side of the ball, we've got Bishop back, uh, Staley back, Matthews back, so we got some receivers. I think Staley's gonna have a great year, man. He's a great receiver, and we develop running backs pretty well. I feel like we'll get one in that two slot that's really gonna go well, with Bishop there. So all those like skill positions, I feel like we're pretty good at on offense. But man, we tried hard and we didn't get a quarterback. And I felt like they made the decision after that to go where we're going. And I know we got the 5 star coming in, and maybe I'm a little gun shy on the 5 star because of Nico. Um, it, but besides all that, man, he may be great. Don't get me wrong, he may be excellent. We got a 5 star receiver coming in as well. Um, and so maybe they're going to be awesome. I think at receiver it's a little bit easier to kind of fit in with those other two veterans and like make yourself more a bigger role as a freshman than to try to take a quarterback, man, that's coming into that and throw him into such a crazy schedule. So
Yeah, that's
obviously,
tough.
and I want him to be able to sit for a year and kind of like get some playing time here and there, and get ready to be the guy for the future. And I hope it, and that's what I want, and hope he pans out. But I really wish we had a little more experience, man, at the helm at quarterback.
Yep.
So that's something from the transfer portal we didn't get, and that kind of worries me. Obviously we'll have more time to discuss how this goes into next year, but just something I wanted to bring up there. That's one of the big things, more so than just losing some players. You're going to lose players in today's portal. Uh, it's how it is. But what's your thoughts on that, man, with the quarterback situation that we're
Yeah,
going to end up in?
yeah. The quarterback situation, it is what it is, man. I mean, we did bring in. I don't know if you saw this, Mike. I don't know because you didn't mention it, so I assume you didn't see it. But
I might have
we
missed it.
actually we actually did bring a quarterback in from Colorado. His name's Ryan Staub.
I see that
Um,
now. My
but
apologies. My apologies.
yeah, but I don't think that he's been brought in like he hasn't been brought in under the same pretenses that Joey Aguilar was brought in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think because you have to have three quarterbacks on your roster. And we didn't have that with Jake Merklinger hitting the transfer portal, and the situation with Joey Aguilar, with the lawsuit and the appeal with the NCAA and all that stuff. He's probably not going to be on our team. So you're left with George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. So you had to bring someone in, and I feel like this guy was brought in just to fill a roster slot. To be honest with you, now he could get in spring practice and ball out, and who knows what could happen. But it's funny you're bringing this specific conversation up, Mike, because the quarterback battle or the quarterback talk in general with Tennessee. I read something on ESPN that said that George McIntyre is predicted to be QB1 for Tennessee
Yeah.
next season.
Had to.
Now take that as you will. Take that with a grain of salt. That doesn't mean really anything until it's cemented and actually and Josh Heupel actually comes out and says it. But if you want to know my opinion on it, man, why not? Why not roll with him? He's been there.
Yeah.
We recruited him. We recruited him out of high school. Yes, he doesn't have any experience, but at least
Yeah.
he's familiar with the system. And it'll be interesting to see how he performs, man. It does seem like the common theme, though, and the road to success is going in that portal and finding a veteran,
Yeah.
seasoned quarterback and bringing them aboard and having them start for you. So
This
things are going to look quite a bit different for Tennessee next season at that spot.
Absolutely, man. And this was no hate on him either, by the way. Um, I more meant so with the experience, like you said, that's a
Yeah,
concern.
it
I
is
mean, I hope he comes out and absolutely kills it, man. I hope,
one hundred
just
percent.
because he don't have the experience don't mean don't have the talent there. We just ain't got to see it. So you never know. It happens. He may come out and just be the guy. You know what I mean? He may impress everyone. So,
Hey, hey,
and
I hope so, man.
yeah, I hope so too. And but I just want to clear that up. Make sure I'm not saying that it's hate on him. It's just I don't know. I haven't seen. We didn't see enough play time to really know what to go
Well,
by.
the cool thing about GMAC is he's a Tennessee kid, born and raised. He's from Franklin. He's from Franklin, Tennessee. He's 6'6". Um, on here it says he's 195, but I would imagine he's over 200 by now with just the strength and conditioning and the nutritionists and stuff that they have those players go through down there. So I mean, come next season, he may be pushing 205, 210. Who knows? I don't know that he'll pack on that much weight, but I mean, he's a hometown kid. You know what I mean? He's a homegrown specimen.
Yeah, right.
So
I
somewhere
got
deep
you.
inside of him, he's going to have more of a fire and a desire to play for the University of Tennessee. I would imagine. If I was a college athlete and I got recruited by my state school,
Oh yeah.
and I had the opportunity to be QB1 at my state school, I mean, I would have much more of a passion for that situation than I would getting the starting job at wherever else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying to come across
No,
with? So
absolutely, man. Well, and I
that
think the
that brings
thing
joy to
too,
me.
yeah, no, because he wants to be there, and it kind of, one of the worries is if you got a quarterback that you're fighting for in the pro. I say the worries you want somebody like Joey wanted to be there, right? When he come out of the portal,
Right,
but when
right.
you're fighting for like a top person in their portal, sometimes, it was like Arizona State's, quarterback. When you start getting players that are balancing between which team's offering the most money, I would rather have a guy that wants to be there because he wants to
Yep,
be there. Um,
yep.
so no, I'm definitely in his corner, and I'm definitely going to be rooting super hard for him. And and I've moved past the point to realize that this is what it is. This is where we're going. That was just a concern I had coming out of the portal, was that we didn't really get anybody big like that. Um,
Yep,
but no, yeah,
yep,
it makes complete sense, man. In the college football world, you definitely want someone who wants to be there now.
yep. Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, you see all these other teams grabbing big time players and paying tons and tons of money and stuff like that. But you know, if Indiana proved anything this season, it's that you don't need the biggest names and the biggest stars to win to have success. You got to have the right group of people. Now, how you put that group together, I have no clue. I have no clue how you do it. I don't know what it takes. Um, but
You
you've
hire
got to have
picks
the
and
right
maybe.
group of people. Yeah, it's true, man. Oh man, yeah, he's unreal. He's unreal. Um,
I will say this, he'll go down as a one of the greats in college football.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
I mean, he may already be putting his resume there, but he'll go down as one of the
without
greats.
question. Without question, man. So aside from the season, I summed it up as just disappointing because it is. Let's be real. I mean, it is. It's kind of disappointing anytime you see your team not. I mean, I'm just going to keep using that stat line. Not beat a team that has a winning record. Um, I know we had a tough season and kind of took a little dip from the previous couple seasons there, but what do you think? Even though the season ended up being the way it was, man, what are some of the positives, I guess, that kind of stuck out in your mind, like uh, key moments, key games? What there are multiple ones that come to my mind, but I just wanted to kind of see where you were
Yeah.
thinking on that.
The biggest moment for me, man, and that made me, and that, like, I wasn't as hyped as I thought I would be, but I was super happy about it, and it was a milestone to get over here, and it was beating Florida in the swamp, regardless of how bad Florida had been this year. That was one of the biggest games, in my opinion, to win, just because, man, it didn't matter how bad Florida was in the past. Even with Tennessee, even when it looked like Tennessee should be winning that game, we could not win in the swamp. And so getting over that, that felt good. Like, I remember watching it and thinking maybe I'm not as hype as I should be because of how the season's kind of been going at the end of it. But I,
Yeah,
but I was like, I thought about it. And I was like, man, this feels nice. It feels good to go down into the swamp and get a win. And regardless, people can say, oh well, Florida wasn't. You can say whatever you want, but it doesn't change the fact that that felt good. And that was one of my like bigger moments, um, biggest accomplishments, because it was another knot of things that Josh Heupel hasn't got past yet, and he can check that
right.
off the list. Just go ahead and put a
Yep.
check mark next to that because he got that off the list.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I've got a couple of other things I'm gonna bring up, but
Mhm.
that win in the swamp was really really sweet. I think what you're talking about, you didn't get as excited as you thought you would, and all that. I think that probably stems from us going into that game with 3 losses already. We at that point in time we had already took the loss to Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, 3 conference games, mind you, as well. So really by that point in the season, all of your playoff hopes were gone, but your conference championship hopes were long gone as well. So there was really no, even though you beat Florida in the swamp, you weren't really playing for anything in the long run, like a playoff spot or anything like that. But to snap a streak that long, I mean, I know it wasn't 20 games or whatever, but it was like 20 years of just because you got the alternating, home and aways. It had been over 20 years since we'd beat Florida in the swamp. To get that monkey off your back, so to speak, to break down that barrier, felt tremendous. We said if it was going to happen, this would be the season to do it. I mean,
Yep.
you had and we said that kind of leading up to that game because you had a quarterback that was playing at a high level, leading the SEC in passing yards, a veteran quarterback who really didn't look rattled, even in some of the losses. I mean, he didn't really look like he was panicked or anything like that. Now, there were moments at times where you could tell he wasn't himself, but it felt good going to battle with Joey Aguilar down there in the swamp, man. And he's done something that not many Tennessee quarterbacks have been able to do, man.
Yeah.
Win in the
No,
swamp.
man, he's very small list, and when I said it didn't get it excited, it put a smile on my face. So
For sure.
don't take it out of context on that. It definitely put a smile on my face.
Yeah, but I
and
get what you
hit
were
it.
saying though.
Yeah, you hit it right when you said that the reason why you said it didn't seem as excited as it would have. Obviously, if Florida had been good, we had been good, and we were both top 10 ranked teams, and we beat them in the swamp, I would have been, and it would have been like coming down to who's going to go to the SEC championship. I would have lost it. But and although it wasn't that level, it still meant something. It still definitely meant something.
Yeah. Those are situations that I want Tennessee to find themselves in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming down to those last couple of SEC games and you're playing for the conference, you're playing for a shot at the conference championship game. Man,
yeah.
Those are the days that I look forward to. And I don't know that they'll ever happen, but I hope they do.
Yeah. I can say on the basketball side of things, I remember going to Kentucky had Tyler Harrow at the time, and both Tennessee and Kentucky were top 10 ranked teams. Kentucky had beat Tennessee pretty good at home, or they did that year. I can't remember if that was before or after. But I went to that game, top 10 ranked teams, high stakes game, and Tennessee won big that time. And you talk about just fun though, man. When your team is playing for like such, it might make you the jitters and the nerves and everything is there, but it's exciting, man, when your team's really playing for those type of big games. I love that type of competition, man, and you know, I look for that even in games I'm just watching in general, like when I'm not even a fan of either team. I just love that level of competition. So when your team's a part of that, it's something special for sure. So
yeah, and that's talking about big games, maybe not even playing for a spot at a conference championship game or championship game in general, but just big time games. In the past, Tennessee never stood a chance. I mean, it was never even a thought that Tennessee could beat the likes of Alabama or Georgia or even Florida there. But going back to another moment this season that made me feel good, it might have been misleading looking back at it now and might have clouded my judgment looking back at it now. But a moment during the season that really gave me supreme confidence moving forward, even though we took a loss, it was that game against Georgia on September 13th at Neyland Stadium where we took Georgia to overtime, man, and Joey Aguilar was going toe to toe with Gunnar Stockton, and both teams were playing lights out and matching score for score. I mean, high scoring game, man, 41-44. Tennessee, that was a heart crushing loss, hard pill to swallow, but it gave me what now is a sense of false hope. But at the time, it gave me a sense of hope moving forward because there were a lot of questions the first couple games. Tennessee absolutely obliterated Syracuse, and Joey Aguilar came out the gate looking crazy and looking amazing. And then you turn around and you play ETSU, and it was hard to gauge what Tennessee was and how good they truly were based off of those two games. So when you perform the way you do against Georgia, now you and I both said that Tennessee would lose to Georgia earlier in the season before the season started. But to watch how close that game was played and how it all unfolded, I mean, you're talking about barely losing to a team that went to the SEC championship game, man, and won it. So um, that made me feel really good. So that was, even though it was a loss, it's weird to say that, but even though it was a loss, that was one of my biggest moments for the season, because in that moment in time, it gave me a sense of hope for what the rest of the season could become.
Yeah, and I get that, man, because immediately I felt heartbreak. I was obviously like it sucks we
Of
lost.
course,
But like it's
of
like
course.
after it settled, and I thought about it, I was like, man, we almost beat Georgia. We should have beat Georgia. We made a
Yeah,
field goal, we win.
yeah,
And
man.
so I get totally what you're saying because it kind of gave me confidence going forward. But you know, Georgia, I think, just did one of the things they do was play down their competition for a game. And looking back at it now, but no, that was a massive moment, and I felt that shift that you're talking about as well. So I definitely get it, man. I want to mention something on this season. You know, we're getting close to wrapping it up, but dude, first off, shout out to you for calling Chris Brazel on having a breakout season. Um,
Yeah.
you said that earlier in the year, man, for your breakout, I believe, and man, Chris Brazel absolutely killed it this year. He
Yes, he
was
did, man.
complete, like deep ball threat, man. I mean, he was one on one. Joey Aguilar would just throw it up, and so he, and 9 times out of 10, he was coming down with it. So just shout out to you on that because I remember specifically you kind of really calling that out. It's always good when you
Appreciate
call
that,
a
man.
player's big year, man. I know how it
Yeah,
felt with Jalen Hyatt when I had done that, so I just want to give you a shout out on that. That was awesome, man.
appreciate that, man. Yeah, he finished the season with 62 receptions, multiple games with over 100 yards receiving, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Kid averaged 16.4 yards a catch. So I mean,
Yeah,
anytime you're
he's
doing that, man.
he got himself in the NFL. Um,
Yep.
he'll
And
get drafted at some, I don't know where, but he got himself in the NFL with that.
yeah, and I think he'll end up being one of those wide receivers that isn't necessarily like the biggest star in the league, but he's going to be one of those consistent guys with his size and speed. He's going to fit right in. He's going to fit right in with the NFL, man, for sure, for sure. I do want to say one thing. I will bring up something very random. So this is the first time I've ever done this on the pod. I actually sat down and drank coffee during the recording, and I thought it would be kind of cool because I know from working with you, Mike, that you drink a cup or two every day when we work together. Um, I don't know, man. I just felt like since I drank a cup while we recorded, wanted to maybe talk a little bit about coffee, man. Like I know that everybody takes it different, everybody has it different. This one right here that I just drank is a flavored coffee, and I think I've given you a pod of it before because it's one of the Keurig pods. It's the smoky vanilla coffee.
Oh yeah,
And dude, when you brew this stuff, it smells incredible. Um, I don't put anything else with it just because it has such a good flavor. That's what I've sipped on tonight, man. When it comes to coffee, dude. How do you take your coffee, brother? And what kind of blends and all that stuff do you like?
well,
Do you tap into like all the crazy coffee drinks? How do you do it, man?
yeah, man. Definitely coffee drinkers in my house too. My wife has an espresso machine, so
Oh,
sometimes
nice.
now I don't get fancy during the work week. You know, when I'm five when we're up at 5 o'clock, it's pretty early, man. So I'm not like I'm not worried about like what kind of fancy
Yeah,
coffee I got in. So I usually go with like a pod that's going to go to a Keurig or something. Um, but it's tough. So because I drink different types. I'm not going to be one of those. It's like I'm not going to say, oh, I like just straight black coffee. That's how I want it. I like a little bit of cream. You know, I might keep, but
gotcha.
I don't. I do like a coffee taste. So I won't like. I don't want to be heavy on cream and heavy on I'm not big on the sweet type coffees. So I want like
Right.
a stronger coffee that's got some flavor to it. It. I'm a big fan of caramel macchiatos. I think they got a little bit of caramel taste
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, pretty strong on the coffee. Um, if I'm doing a Keurig for work or just something quick, I've learned I like the Black Rifle coffee a lot.
Yes, sir.
Um, a lot of different Black Rifle coffees. Maybe I'm going too in depth with all this, but I
No,
love
go
coffee,
for it,
man. So I
bro.
can definitely talk about it. But um, probably more of a medium roast on that
Gotcha.
if I'm going to go to that level. So I'm more medium roast. I like a little flavor as well. So,
Hmm.
but not too much. I still want to be able to taste my coffee and it not just be
Right.
me. I always joke with my wife. I'm not a fan of Dunkin' because it's just so sweet, and I don't want that. I don't want straight sugar. I want like something that's
Yeah.
gonna pick me up a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I'm like a 1 to 2 cups, like you said. Usually one, but
Yeah.
sometimes I will do two if it's been a long day. Um, so I'm definitely not someone that drinks it all day long, but I'm definitely someone that needs it.
Yeah.
I feel it if I have a cup of coffee in the morning. But there's just something about like I was I was talking with someone the other day, and maybe this is just me getting older. I don't know, but like going and sit. I love breakfast. I'm a big breakfast food guy. So if I
Oh
go
yeah.
and sit down at like I do this especially in like Gatlinburg or somewhere where if we're just there for a weekend, and I go to one of those little pancake houses or breakfast places, but
Hmm.
just a good plate of breakfast, and when they bring me just a cup of coffee, and I can just get it refilled, dude, it just hits different, man. Like I know
It
it's a good
does, dude.
day when I'm not when I'm just sitting there enjoying a breakfast, drinking some coffee like that, and
Yeah.
I'm off for the day. There's a cup of coffee on the balcony at the beach, I mean, I could go on and on. A cup of coffee at a cabin,
Yeah,
it's
man.
just there's just something about it, dude.
Cup of
It just
coffee
hits
anywhere.
different, man. Yeah, just picture those scenarios, when you're gonna have a
Yeah.
good day. You hit that you're on a
Oh,
balcony
yeah.
somewhere, or you're just hitting that cup of coffee. You probably know that beach coffee when you're on a balcony in the mornings and you're on vacation.
It's cool, man. It's cool.
Hits
You feel
different.
that you feel that cool breeze. It's not cold by any means, but it's just like a cool breeze. The sun hasn't quite made its peak yet, and you're just
Yeah.
sitting there, steam rolling out of that cup. Maybe
Oh
the
man.
people in the house haven't even woke up yet. There's definitely a good it's really coffee is, it's obviously known as like the alert, start your day out type vibe, kind of get you going, give you a little boost, a little kick. But man, honestly, I don't know if it's just a mentality thing when you're sitting down drinking it or situational thing when you're sitting down drinking it, but I can almost use coffee in the reverse, just kind of like a relaxation type thing, just kind of sitting back,
Yeah.
just sipping on it
I
a
get
little
that
bit.
fully.
Um, but I'm with you when it comes to coffee, man. I'm not like a huge like I'm not out here rocking like I heart coffee teas or anything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I would definitely describe myself as just like the casual coffee drinker. But every family gathering, they fire up two or three pots in a night, and everybody just kind of sits around, sips on it. There might be some sweets laid out. That does seem like something that goes kind of hand in hand as like some sort of dessert and coffee. They always seem to go hand in hand. But um, as far as like brands and roasts and stuff like that, I do like a medium or dark roast. I kind of tend to lean more towards the dark roast side of things.
Okay. Yeah.
And Black Rifle, like you said, they've got pretty much anything you want from light all the way up to like
Yeah.
extremely dark roasts. But yeah, man, shout out to coffee, dude. It was. I know I sprung that on you. We didn't even really discuss that, but in the midst of me just sitting here, after I took my last sip of this, man, I was just like, you know what? We should talk about coffee on this episode tonight, man.
Yeah. Clearly I don't need a heads up about that, and I can still ramble on about it.
Yeah.
And
Oh
by the way,
man.
for Black Rifle Coffee, the actual place in Pigeon Forge has a really
Hmm.
cool Black Rifle place. You go if you want some coffee
Yeah.
there. They got
See,
shirts and all that
haven't
stuff.
been. I haven't been.
You gotta make a stop. I know,
Yep.
and people I know a lot of people know where Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge is. For us, it's what like an hour away. So we're
Yeah, it's
um
close.
Yeah. So it's never been a place that we're not used to, I guess. It's nothing new to us. But the Black Rifle Coffee place, whenever you're down there next time, man, just swing by.
Check it out.
It's worth it. Yeah, it's worth
Do,
the
do
hype.
they do they have like a little thing where they make like coffee drinks and stuff too, or?
Well, like they've got, I mean, they got their full menu. There's quite a bit of coffee to choose from. I think just the store in general is cool, and
Okay, gotcha.
they got like merch and shirts and different stuff too.
Yeah, cool.
Um, but yeah, I mean, you buy their stuff in the store, but like you getting your coffees made and like there are several different
Gotcha.
flavors you can get and stuff like that. It's really good. Like I mean, it's good. Um, Usually me and my wife will swing by when we're down that way.
Yeah. And I do want to have a disclaimer right now. It's anyone following the channel, you all know obviously we're not sponsored by Black
Yeah,
Rifle or anything like that. I
yeah.
wish
No,
we were.
they're
I wish we could
yeah.
say that.
Yeah. Hey, maybe if they see this Black Rifle, if we ever in the future, maybe you want to sponsor us. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, we don't have any sponsors at the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just go ahead and throw that out there too. Yeah, we're just talking about it. So
Yeah, but I mean, if you're wrapped up on this episode, Mike, I am too. I do want to throw something out there for everybody listening. We are now on Spotify
yeah,
audio podcasts. The last episode, which was the reaction to the national championship game, that's the only episode on there right now. I don't think I'm going to go back and put all of last season on there. I think starting with that national championship game episode and moving forward, you can find all of these episodes on YouTube like you always do, and then they are also now on Spotify audio. So, um, without you guys, we wouldn't have even had the motivation or thought process to do that. So we thank you all so much.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Helps us out. And then like you said, we're on Spotify now. So hey, if anybody in that, I know what it's like. You're in that office scenario somewhere. That will get that headphone in. You're listening to some stuff during the day. Just give us a listen throughout. Now you don't have to sit there. You can hide it a little easier. You don't have to put us out there on the video. You can just put it on Spotify and listen to us. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're excited about that. I'm glad that we're on there. I think that's a direction we definitely wanted to go. And going into this year, man, we plan on doing just continuing to grow it, doing some different things, and enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, I love it, man. I look forward to this off season, even though the off season can be kind of dreaded sometimes. It's almost like you got to scrape and claw to find stuff to talk about, but looking forward to it. Looking forward to next season. I know you and I actually plan on going to some games together next season, hopefully. So hopefully
For
we can
sure.
work all that out and bring the pod to Knoxville, man.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll think of things. Hey, luckily for you guys, me and Adam can sit there and talk about coffee for 10 minutes. So, 10, 15 minutes. So we'll think about things. Um,
Oh yeah,
we'll definitely be bringing you the more the whatever side of things to it.
for
We
sure,
don't
man.
want to just stick to just one thing. And, that's kind of why we come up with that idea in the first place. So definitely looking forward to that. We've got a little more time now to expand into that. Um, yeah, man, Adam, as always, dude, it's been fun, man. And can't wait to see what we come up with next here in the off season to talk about. But as always, dude, I'll see you in the next one.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
You too.